everyone, it's John from WoT, and welcome back to another video. And today we're talking the 10th anniversary of A Memory of Light, the final book in the Wheel of Time series. Recently, Brandon Sanderson popped over to the Dusty Wheel and on his own YouTube channel to talk to Matt Hatch. They talked a bunch of different things about the book. They confirmed some fan theories. They talked about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff and where some of the ideas came from the book, as well as revealed a giant secret. Now, this big secret was something that only one person that I know of in the fandom even thought of until it was revealed. And you guessed it, it was Matt Hatch, because he was a beta reader. He did get to read the series first, so it's pretty interesting. Now, after the secret was revealed, a lot of the fandom split in the fence. They really like it. Some people really don't like it, but we're going to talk about all of those things today. Now, I have left a link to the original video down below in the description box if you folks want to watch it. I highly recommend you do if you have the time. It's a long one, so buckle in. If you have some time, go over there and watch it, because the chemistry between Matt and Brandon is absolutely fantastic. But if you don't have time, well, we'll take it and we'll bring it in little digestible bite-sized chunks today in today's video. We'll talk about the most important bits. Now, if you're new to the channel, you don't know what we do here, we cover the Wheel of Time. So whether it be the show, the books, or merchandise, rumors, leaks, we talk all things Wheel of Time here. I'm a pretty big Wheel of Time nerd. I really love the series. I love the show. I love anything and everything to do with Wheel of Time. If you like that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell. We usually put out a couple of videos per week, except in the last couple of weeks, and that brings me to my next point. I want to thank so many of you out there who contacted me on social media asking how I was doing. If you haven't noticed, if you've been following the channel for a while, I haven't put much content out in the last 3 weeks, and that's because I got a nasty bug. I was down for the count. I lost a lot of my my breath. I wasn't able to talk very well, so I couldn't sit in the chair here and discuss Wheel of Time with you folks. But I am on the mend now. It's been about 3 weeks. I'm feeling much better, so I am able to sit down and do videos with the Wheel of Time, which is great, because I missed a lot in the last 3 weeks and expect to see a whole lot of videos in the next week or two coming from me, because there's a lot of stuff to cover with the show, with the books, with rumors, with leaks, with merchandise, you name it. There's a ton of stuff to talk about. Now, the last thing I want to say is stay tuned at the end of the video for a special presentation. Koala Sadai, who does the Cards of Time, and she's over on Twitter of Time, she is releasing a new Wheel of Time website. Now, we're going to talk about that with Koala and Terry Sadai. I'll leave a link to that website down below in the description box as well if you folks want to go over and take a look at it. It's got all kinds of really great stuff, but I'll let her explain it at the end of the video, and it's not something you're going to want to miss. All right. All of that being said, since we are talking Book 14, A Memory of Light, I do have to give a spoiler warning. So, spoiler warning, in today's video, we're talking secrets revealed, we're talking theories, we're talking behind-the-scenes stuff from A Memory of Light. That's Book 14 of the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. So, if you haven't read the entire series, that's books 1 through 14, be forewarned, we're going to ruin pretty much everything from the entire series. Well, you've been warned. All right, with that being said, let's get on to the video. All right, so when Matt and Brandon sat down and talked together, no topic was safe when it came to A Memory of Light, including some of the not-so-popular things that happened during the book series that a lot of the fans were pretty unhappy about. One of them happened to be the fate of Egwene Lanfear. Now, this is your last chance to dip out if you don't like spoilers or if you haven't read the series, because we're going to talk about the fate of some major characters during the last battle in the last book of the Wheel of Time, and if you don't want to know about them, it's best maybe to go and find another video to watch. But if you don't care, if you like kind of spoilers, or if you read the series, stay with us. So, as those of you who read the series know, Egwene Lanfear did not survive the last battle, neither did her warder Gowan Tracand, who happens to be my favorite character. Now, Gowan died doing something stupid, which was right in the vein of his character. I was super excited for that. Even though he's my favorite character, I liked his death. I liked the way it played out, because it fit right in with the rest of his story arc, the rest of his storyline, and I thought it suited the character quite well. Now, Egwene Lanfear, I think her death in the last battle also suited her character arc and her storyline quite well, because she did what she did best, and she thought of everyone else instead of herself, and she basically saved the entire pattern. If there was a big hero of the story other than Randall Thor, I would say 100% it is Egwene Lanfear. She definitely kept the pattern together. Rand may have kept the Dark One from remaking his own image, but she's the one who stitched it back together and held it together when all that balefire is being used and it started to destroy itself. And in doing so, she sacrificed herself to save everyone else. Really cool, really upsetting, really emotional scene in the books, but a lot of people, especially Egwene Lanfear fans, were a little unhappy because they didn't want her to die. They wanted her to live on through the rest of the series, which, I mean, if it's your favorite character, of course you want that. But they were a little upset, and what Brandon said during this interview was that that was not his call. Actually, it was Team Jordan that decided Egwene Lanfear's fate, so when she died on the page, that was not exactly his decision. But really neat nonetheless, and although it may have been unpopular with some of the fans, I thought it was an excellent scene in the last battle. One of the other things they talked about was the body swap theory between Rand and Morton. Now, Rand and Morton were connected when their streams of balefire crossed, so don't cross the streams, I guess you could say. And there was a ton of fan theories about what went on. But even after Memory of Light came out, everyone read it, there was still a whole lot of questions about exactly what happened, how Rand lived, how Rand took Morton's body, because it wasn't spelled out explicitly in the book series. You had to read in between the lines and get all the clues. Now, a lot of the prevailing fan theories were that they were connected from the balefire streams crossing, and that that Rand moved into Morton's body somehow. Now, they did verify that this is 100% correct, that basically, and I think the quote they used was, the soul that wanted to live found the body that wanted to live, and the soul that wanted to die didn't go to the effort. So in other words, Rand's body was dying from all of his wounds. It wasn't going to survive the last battle. His soul still wanted to live on. He had friends, he had family, he had other things he wanted to do. He didn't want to die during the last battle. And Morton, well, his whole purpose in being was to end everything. He was just tired. Some of the Forsaken joined for fame, for money, for power, for ages of music in Asmodean's case. Morton, he just wanted everything to end because he was tired. He just wanted to set everything down and never relive the battle again and again and again like he's been doing forever. So when it came down to it, he just didn't want to survive, but Rand did. So Rand used that connection where the balefire streams crossed to migrate his soul into Morton's body. Pretty neat, but again, it was one of those things that wasn't completely spelled out for us. It was more of sort of a theory, and they did confirm that during these discussions. Now, the next mystery they talked about was Nakomi. Now, Nakomi's identity and who this particular person was spelled out in Michael Livingston's Origins of the Wheel of Time. So if you haven't picked up that book yet, please go do that. I had the distinct pleasure of interviewing Michael Livingston. He's an amazing man, and the book itself is absolutely, I would say, a must-read for any Wheel of Time fan. I did get a pre-release copy of it, and I was able to read it before it came out, and it was fantastic. But it did spell out who Nakomi was. She was a Gen Aiel, and how she came to be, and different things in that book. So I won't get too much into that. But what Brandon did say is that Jordan's notes did talk about Nakomi a little bit at the boar, at the last battle, this woman there. But the identity of Nakomi, the Aiel woman who visits Aviendha in her sleep, which is canon, so Aviendha was sleeping when Nakomi visited her, was really up to Brandon more than anything else, because there wasn't a whole lot written down on what it would be. And Brandon added the scene with Aviendha to foreshadow this woman. So it was really neat. It was really cool. And like I said, if you want to know a little bit more about that, make sure you pick up The Origins of Wheel of Time by Michael Livingston. All right, now, one of the other things they did discuss during the panel was the pipe. Now, at the end of the book series, if you're unfamiliar, if you don't really remember, Rand lights a pipe. But before that, he finds out that he has no more access to the One Power. He tries to channel, and he can't. But he just kind of thinks the pipe is lit, and it lights on its own. So that was a huge mystery for a very, very long time, and no one really knew why or how, but there were a ton of different theories about it. And Robert Jordan left no answers. So Brandon did say that in his notes there were no answers as to why this was, or what it was going to be, or what he was thinking, but they did give some theories. So Brandon believes that Rand was close to the pattern and therefore able to affect objects in the real world, so that's what he could do. Harriet thought that it was a way to foreshadow how the next age will be just as different from the previous age as the previous age was from the one before that, which I really like that idea. Matt Hatch really liked his friend Mary's theory that it was a Terra Angreal, but my theory, of course, is that because Rand was outside the pattern, dealing with the Dark One, he was able to see the world layered. So you had many layers of different worlds. You had Teleran Rioid, you had her own world, but my theory is that that's just two layers of a big stack of papers of different worlds, and that there are many, many other worlds layered on top of one another, and that once Rand realized that, he could affect them and use and move things around in this world, much like he could in the World of Dreams. And that, I guess, is sort of a little bit like what Brandon was thinking and what Brandon said his theory was, which made me pretty happy either way. So let me know in the comments down below what you folks thought, what your theories are about the pipe, because let's face it, it's one of those things that we'll never get an actual answer for, because Jordan didn't leave any notes behind, didn't leave any real answer as to how the pipe got lit, and I kind of like that. I like that there's no answer to that, and we can all come up with our own things. Now, we're on to the big final reveal, the final secret that Brandon and Matt talked about. That is that Lanfear is still alive. She didn't die during the last battle. Perrin did not kill her. Yeah. So, for those of you who may have not read Memory of Light recently, or it's been a while, I'm going to give you a little recap. Essentially, during the last battle, Lanfear was trying to use compulsion on Perrin to have him kill Moraine and Nynaeve, and Perrin used the sheer force of will, as well as his love for Faile, to overcome the compulsion and then snap Lanfear's neck. So he was responsible for killing Lanfear, and it was a big win for Perrin and a big win for the Side of the Light. Now, when Matt Hatch was reading the Memory of Light as a beta reader, he thought that all the foreshadowing leading up to Lanfear's supposed death was too on the nose, and then he knew, 100% knew, that she lived, and he thought that it was too obvious and that the fans wouldn't like it. Brandon said the foreshadowing sometimes has to be obvious and left it in. And of course, I don't think anyone other than Matt even noticed. Because I myself personally didn't think she survived the last battle, and I can't think of ever hearing or reading another theory by anyone else that she survived through the last battle and that Perrin didn't actually kill her. So it may have been obvious, or Matt might have thought it was obvious, but he's pretty much more well-versed and smarter about the Wheel of Time than the rest of us, because I certainly didn't think so, and I don't think anyone else did either. Now, why did Lanfear do this? Well, essentially, she needed a credible witness to her death, and she needed the Side of the Light to win so she could live in peace afterwards. Because if the Dark One won, she wasn't going to have a good time, because she really wasn't in his favor. She really didn't want the side, the dark side to win at that point. She wanted the Side of the Light to win, but she needed the Side of the Light to think that she was dead, because, let's face it, she'd be persecuted by them as well. So she used small bits of compulsion on Perrin to make him think that he couldn't be affected by compulsion and that he killed her. Really, really cool, in my opinion. Now, the fans were kind of split when this came out. I've been reading some stuff on Reddit and stuff. Of course, I've been saying I've been down and out. I haven't been able to make videos. It doesn't mean I haven't been reading things online. And the fans seemed sort of split. A lot of people were pretty happy and pretty excited about this, and some people were unhappy. They thought it cheapened Perrin's storyline. They thought it got rid of his big accomplishment during the last battle. Perrin did a lot of things during the books. But to think that Perrin could outsmart Lanfear to her own game, I think is a little optimistic. Lanfear is thousands of years old. She is one of the most powerful Aes Sedai that ever lived, one of the most well-versed in compulsion, one of the most well-versed in the world of dreams. So Teleran Reoid was her domain. As good as Perrin is, he's got a couple of years under his belt at best. He may be very skilled, but he doesn't have the experience. So when I heard this, the first thing I thought was, this makes a ton of sense. Way more sense than Perrin killing her, in my mind. Now, don't get me wrong, the scene was pretty cool in the books, and it played out very, very well, and it read very well. But having her live through and having her use compulsion on Perrin to make him think that she actually died, I personally think plays so much better. That's my opinion on that. Let me know your opinion down below in the comments. Did you like the fact that Lanfear lived and that Perrin didn't actually kill her? Or are you on the other side of the camp saying that it kind of cheapened Perrin's storyline a little bit? Now, just so you folks know, I really like this. I think it's excellent, and I think it plays really well. But I want to hear your opinions as well. Now, if you're wondering where this artwork came from, because it is a gorgeous picture of Lanfear, this came from Elitsas. She's the one that does all of the graphic design for my channel. So all of my slides, my thumbnails, everything and anything to do with my channel that has to do with visual or music, she does that. And she actually did this picture as well. She's a really talented artist, really talented graphic design, and she has her own website and company now. So I've left a link to that down below in the description box. So if you're content creators, or if you just want some stuff for social media or anything else like that, contact her. Her website is down below, and she can definitely hook you up. Now, we're getting into that big surprise reveal now from Koala Sedai and Terry Sedai. It is their new Wheel of Time website, and I'm going to let them tell you just a little bit about it. All right, so as promised at the first of the video, I do have Koala and Terry Sedai with me today, and they are going to announce a couple of really, really special things for us today, and I'll let them take it from here, but I do have links down below if you folks want to check it out. So Koala and Terry, what do you have for us today?
Hey John, great to be back here with you again. We've got two things to talk about today, and the first one is a new content creator card that is being released today, and that's the What Up card. So my question is, hey John, what did you think of it?
I think it's absolutely awesome that people get to actually collect and hold my ugly mug in their hands. So it's fantastic. The card itself is beautiful. I thought it was really good, and I'm very flattered. Thank you so much for doing that. I really do appreciate it.
It can take quite a bit of sort of thought, particularly putting together the content creator cards, as to what do I do with this creator? The first one was Matt Hatch, and that was easy because I just had him in his inn. But as things have gone along, I've tried to think about how to put the creator into the show. And I just sort of thought, with the way you're always releasing news, the best way was to have the Eamonfield 5 just all crowding around you, waiting to hear what's next.
Really very cool. And I love that you used the little cartoon drawing of me that my sister did. That was absolutely fantastic. I love that.
She's so artistic. That drawing is a fantastic caricature. Gorgeous. So that's out there in the world.
Other than the card, there is something else. A big surprise.
There is. Do you want to tell us what the other surprise is?
Sure. So, Mum, Koala Sedai, has been tirelessly slaving away, creating a website for the cards. And on top of that, we're also doing blogs on there that are spoiler-free, full spoiler, show only.
Yeah, light spoilers for people who've seen the show and don't mind just hearing a little bit of show-to-book comparison without being spoiled on any plots.
We'll also be doing show theory, spoiler type stuff, like where we think the show is going with how they're writing things and rearranging plots and whatnot, so that should be being updated pretty regularly.
And when she says tirelessly, what she means is in a bit of a obsessively way, yes. I always start something and it quickly grows bigger than I really meant it to. That's kind of always been a bit of a trait of mine. So in that blog, I'm basically breaking the TV show down scene by scene and comparing it to the book in the full spoiler section, which is ridiculous. But what I find is sometimes I start writing about one scene, and what I'm going to write about, I actually see something else and I write something else, and some scenes I've got 3 or 4 blog posts about already, because I just keep thinking of other ways that we all know that the show looks different to the books in that we're not seeing verbatim scenes from the book shown on the show. However, the more I watch and the more I break things down, the more convinced I am that Rafe is spot on and the show is sticking exactly to the story of the Wheel of Time and what needs to be conveyed. So that's what I'm always looking for when I'm picking through the scenes, is how each scene might be different to the book but is actually showing exactly what it needs to show. And then I've gotten a little bit run away with also doing some video sections in there where I've gone right back to the beginning of my childhood and my very first experiences with fantasy stories as a child, and I'm kind of slowly working through the different stages of my life and what kind of fantasy I read, and how well childhood fantasy stories prepare us for the type of characters and situations that the Wheel of Time tells us as an adult story. So yeah, it's kind of grown, hasn't it?
It has. And I just generally sit back and just smile and nod, and then come up with crazy show theories and say I will write a blog post about it and then promptly forget to. So I'm working on that.
Your mum's got you covered, though.
Yeah. I've also been really pleased.
All right, so folks at home, I've left a link to the... Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, start that again. I'm also really pleased to have another blog section in there for a fellow Australian WoT fan who's known on social media as Waterholic Aussie, and he writes all sorts of poems about the Wheel of Time. And so he's divided them into 5 different categories. So some poems are based on a character, some are based on a chapter, some are based on whole books. And we're slowly uploading all of his poems, because he would write them and kind of just send a poem to someone here and send a poem to someone there. And I would say to him all the time, these are great, but they need to be collected together somewhere, because when you read one poem, it's like, oh yeah, that's cute. But when you start to read a whole series of poems, you go, this guy's brilliant. So I've also given blog space to Waterholic Aussie, and his poems are all going up on the blog, and as he writes more, he'll keep adding them in there. So that's going to be really fun to watch them develop. And also the cards. The Cards of Time is what I started making the blog so that we'd have somewhere to show the cards, and it's, yeah, just grown crazy from there. But there's also a section there where the cards are being uploaded.
That's awesome. So I have left a link for you folks at home to the website down below in the description box if you folks want to check it out. I have already looked at it a couple of times. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's well laid out. It's got a lot of really interesting stuff on it. So make sure you check that, bookmark it, go back often to check the blogs. Maybe, just maybe, you'll see some new cards there once every, couple weeks maybe? You guys seem to release a card every few weeks, months or so?
Every week.
Every week. Yeah, we tend to release a card every week.
Every week?
Yeah. There's actually something...
So you'll see the new cards there if you don't follow them on social media?
Yes, and it's where you'll always be able to come and find them all collected in one place, rather than when they go out on social media. And one of the things with that too is that what has gone out on social media so far really have been drafts of the cards. And so sometimes people have given feedback, and I've made some slight changes to the cards. But a really big thing that I did over Christmas was I printed 147 cards, so that we could actually, and there's a few, so that we could actually start testing out playing games with the cards. So we've been developing games. And one of the really interesting things that came out of printing the cards was that there was lots of stuff I didn't like about them anymore. So I've, in my obsessive OCD, ADD fashion, I have actually started completely redeveloping all of the cards. So what is on the website is I will be releasing the new cards also on social media, but here's some test printing of the old cards, and here's some test printing of the new cards. So you can, even though you can't see detail here because they're on the website, you can kind of see that there's been quite a few design changes made, even to the point of I'm often even using new screenshots out of the show for each card. So yeah, it's kind of what I do, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We all deal with anxiety in different ways. I deal with it by being really, 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 really busy.
I don't.
Well, we're all better for it here in the Wheel of Time fandom because the cards are fantastic.
And the games...
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Again, I've left a link to the website down below. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And the games we've developed so far are really fun to play. And we might even get on and talk a bit more about them as we're getting closer to WoTCon.
That would be cool. I'd love to have a printed out set of rules too, so
Yeah.
we could see how they're played, or even a sample game would be really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's everything.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I appreciate it. The cards are fantastic, and again, the website is linked down below in the description box for you folks at home to go check that out, bookmark it, and check back often for new cards as well as the blog posts. And I want to thank you all very much for sticking with us here to the very end, and here's to many more.